In this session, I want to add 2 new admin users to the account. Let's say we have 2 new users, Ade and Mola. Now, after adding these 2 new users, I want to give them some admin privileges. But this time around, I don't want to alter the Sudoers file. I want to use a command to add them to the admin users, the admin group. Now, so let's start. So, this is the first user. The second user, let's add Mola, right? So we have the 2 users. Now I'm assigning passwords to these users. Put a password, put a password. And let me do the same for Mola. Assign a password, confirming it. Now I've created accounts for these 2 users and added passwords to them. So let's see what we have. Let me check my Sudoers file. Now I use sudo to get access to that. Now, this is an extract of my Sudoers file. Now we can see here, these are the existing names that I manually imputed here in the past. Now I'm trying to add users. There's a group in here. Look at this, called Will. This is a Will. This is a group. Now we are trying to assign these new users, Ade and Mola, these guys that we just created, trying to assign them to the group called Will, right? Now, look at what we have. Will is capable of doing everything the Sudoers could do, right? Now, so what do? We go to, let me clear this. Now, we can come up here and say, now, to add users to a group, let's see the existing group where the users are in, right? ID Ade. So Ade is in a group called, that's the primary group called Ade. So these are the groups Ade belong to at the moment. Now, let's check Mola. Mola also belongs to a group called Mola. The thing is, when a user is created, a default primary group is created alongside, and that default primary group is usually the same as the username, right? Every user has a primary group, which is also the same as the username. So that's what we have at the moment. Now we are trying to assign users to a group called Will. And that group called Will has the capability to use pseudo privileges. Okay? Now, we can either assign a group using the user mod command. We can say sudo user mod dash uppercase G, which indicates that we are trying to assign to a secondary group. Now, after that, we specify the group name. The group name is will, right? This is one option. So who are we trying to add, right? We are trying to add Ade, for example. So if we run this command, Ade will be added to a group called will, right? Now, let's look at the other option. Let me comment this. The other option will be to, okay, the other option will be to use the gpasswd command. Now, why do I prefer the gpasswd command? Because with the gpasswd command, I can add multiple users to a group. Now, let's assume we want to add Ade. We use sudo gpasswd, right? Dash uppercase M. Then we specify the name Ade. Unlike here, we specify the group first, right? Specify the group using user mod. But this time around, we specify the name Ade, and we specify the group we want Ade added to. But the reason why I prefer using the gpasswd is that with the gpasswd, I can add multiple users at a time. Now, you know we have two users, Ade and Mola. So we can use commas to separate the names, the users we are trying to add, right? We have two users, Ade and Mola. So we are trying to add them to this group called will. Okay, we run this. So now let us check the groups, right, that have been created. The groups, let's check the group to see that these users have been added to them. Firstly, let's use the ID, right? Let's ID Ade. Let's see what we have. You see, Ade, user ID Ade, group ID Ade, right? That's the primary group. And you see the groups Ade belong to, Ade and Will. Ade is the primary group, Will is the secondary group. Now let's see what we have for Mola. You can see Mola also belongs to a secondary group called Will. Now, let's confirm to know the groups and the people belonging to different groups. We can run this command and say group. So running this command, we are able to see the different groups and who belong to the groups. So let's see. Let's scroll up a bit to look for will, and see who belongs to the will group. This is a way of confirming what we've done. Now you see, this is group, will, right? And we see that Ade and Mola that we just created now are on the will group. Now, we've assigned these two guys to the will group. Now let's see what these two guys are able to do. Let's see what they are able to do. There's a password to Ade, there's a password to Mola. Let's see what they are able to do. Now, let's try Ade. Let's try Ade. Let's create a new session. What do we have for Ade? The public IP address for 75.95.45, right? So let's specify the username as Ade. So we should be prompted for a password. I hope it was entered correctly. 54.175.9. Oh, there was a mistake with the public IP address. Let me do this again. There's a mistake with the public IP address. New sessions. Come here, say 54. 175.95.145 is correct now. Okay, let's specify the name Ade. So okay, so Ade, password is being requested. So we've entered the password. Let's clear and let's see what Ade can do. Let's see what Ade can do. Now, Ade is the new admin. Let's see what he can do. We want to say Ade should create a new user. Sudo user add Ade. Ade A. Okay, let's say Ade is creating a user called Ade A, right? We get this message, right? So we are prompted to put in a password for Ade to complete this process. Password for Ade. Let me enter it again. I entered it. Oh, use add. I entered the command wrongly. Let's see. User add Ade A. Now, Ade A has been added. User add Ade A. Ade A has been added. Now, let's try to create a password for Ade A. Sudo user pass wd Ade A. Let's see how that goes. Asking for a password for Ade A. So, this new user, Ade, that we added to a group called Will, has been able to successfully create a user using the sudo privilege, right? It's been able to create a user called Adehe and created a password. Now let's see what else. Let's see. Let's confirm the user that has been created. Let's say sudo slash etc slash shadow, right? Oh, sudo. I didn't specify what I wanted. Let's cut. Now, you see, at the head that's just been created, you can see information about the password. We can find it here, right? So these are the other accounts that were created earlier. Mola, Ade, and this is Ade A, right? Now, let us assume let's clear this. Let us assume that we are trying to delete, two users were created, right? We had Ade, right? And we have Mola. Now, let's even give Ade the instruction to delete Mola from the group called Will, right? And let's see whether Mola can create all these new users and add the password and do anything using sudo privileges. Ade has been able to execute commands as a sudoer, right? But Mola, we've not logged into Mola, but right now, let's delete Mola, right? Maybe we should just continue. Okay, let Ade delete Mola, right? So to delete Mola, Ade can use this command, sudo gpasswd, right? Similar to what was used to add, but this time around, instead of saying dash m, dash uppercase M, we use dash D, right? Then we specify the user that we want to delete, that's Mola, and we go ahead and specify the group we are deleting Mola from, right? And say will. So let's run this, removing user Mola from will. Now let's go back and look at what we have. right? We can say will group, right? Want to see the group and the group. Say the group, right? Now let's see the groups, right? These are the different groups we have, right? These are the different groups we have. Now we see will, we see only Ade remains on will, right? Look at what we had before. We had Ade and Mola, right? Now, after this removal of Mola, we see only Ade is on the group, right? Now, what else can we do? Let's test to see that Mola actually doesn't have pseudo privileges. So let's try to log into Mola, right? So let's log into Mola. Mola will remain a user, but what can he do? Let's see. Now we have SSH. So 54.175.95.145. So now let's specify the user. This time around is Mola, right? Okay, so let's get Mola's password. Mola is able to log in. Yes, it should still be able to log in. It was only removed from the group called Will. We should have given him superpowers, right? So let's see what we get. Let's clear this. Now, let's see if Mola can add a user. Sudo user add. Let's say Mola E, right? Let's see. It's asking for password for Mola. So let's enter the password. Mola is not on the Sudoers file. This incident will be reported. So we've been able to see that we can add someone to the Sudoers file without necessarily going in to modify the Sudoers file. And we've also established that just by assigning someone, a user, to the group called will, right, using the appropriate commands, we'll be able to achieve the same results instead of having to modify the Sudoers file. Thank you, everybody.